Are you a coach, consultant, or service provider who is frustrated with an empty calendar? Well, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Laurie-Ann, and you are listening to Be In Demand, where I talk about how to leverage speaking opportunities to grow your business, get positioned as the expert, and monetize your expertise. Let's get on to the show. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is the final episode of Selling from the Stage series. And I hope you have enjoyed the other two episodes where we were talking about one, about the magic phrases, different phrases that you can drop into your next speech in your next interview so that you get more leads, more opportunities, more bookings, more clients. And that is episode 232. And then we also talked about in episode 230 about stepping into your alter ego. Because if you aren't sold on yourself, your audience is going to feel it. Your prospects that are getting on sales calls, they're going to feel it as well. And it's just, like, in a nutshell, it is about showing up confidently. So, in this last episode of this Selling from the Stage series, I wanted to talk to you about Robert Cialdini's doctor. I want to talk to you about the six principles of influence. And this is based on Dr. Robert Cialdini's work that he has done. So I just want to go through these. And then I have a few other influential tidbits that you are going to want to start using and play around with these. Try using them in your personal life, add them into your content that you're writing, and then use them also on your podcast or when you're guesting. Just start playing around with them. So let's start with the six principles of influence. Reciprocity. This is offering something valuable first to trigger a reaction. So in the online world, this is why we have a PDF that we are offering people in exchange for their email address. Or maybe you want to give somebody something. Hey, if like if you do this, I will give you XYZ, like a testimonial or a referral. They're And I've used like an exchange for testimonials. For example, in my group program, In Demand Signature Speech, at the end, I need video testimonials. And so I ask everybody, if you submit your video testimonials, upload it to this Google Drive. And from there, I'm going to pick one person. One person's going to win a free coaching call with me. So it just incentivizes people to take that action. So also, another time I was walking to the grocery store and the girls' soccer team was accepting donations, literally like just had these cans and they were just asking people if they would donate and they had nothing in exchange. I literally went into the store and bought a bouquet of flowers and came out and handed it to them. All I wanted them to do was like give people a flower, hand them something so that there is this even exchange. And they ended up, and I just left it at that. I'm not even sure like what actually happened because I didn't get anybody's contact information to follow back up with them. But it was just my way of helping them actually get more donations from people that were going in and out of the store. Another one, and you've probably heard this one before, is scarcity, creating some sort of a sense of urgency. Now, I've done this, and I think I've shared this story with you before, where I was speaking for a university for their entrepreneurship program, and I was speaking for their leadership. I was speaking as one of their leadership speakers, and I just grabbed a handful of my book on leadership, not knowing how many students were going to be there, but that ended up creating that sense of urgency because what I said to the class was, I have a small number of my books with me if you, and I told them what the price was, literally had people throwing their credit cards at me because they wanted to make sure that they got one of those copies and they didn't have to wait for something to be mailed. They wanted it right then and there. So scarcity, because people don't want to be left out. It's that FOMO. Another one is authority, positioning yourself as a credible expert, a person with experience. This is where you might want to talk about the different people that you have worked with. I have a friend, and she is working with a very influential person in the PR industry. And it's like, kudos to you. Just knowing that about her, and it makes me like look at her a little bit differently. But I've got pictures of me with other influencers. I have pictures of myself by the stage with James Wedmore, with Amy Porterfield, with Randy Gage, with Darren LaCroix. And one of my favorites is Bobby Orr. And he's not a speaker per se, but he's a hockey legend. He's a hockey legend. So to be able to show like these are some of the people that I have shared the stage with, it adds to my authority. The next one is consistency. Are you aligning your message with the audience's values? And this comes down to, I believe, speaking to the right audiences. Never saying yes to speaking just for the sake of saying yes, and I need to get more bookings, and I don't care who I speak to. I want you to make sure that the people that you are speaking to are the right audiences. One, they're filled with your ideal clients, and they're the people who can benefit from the problem that you solve. Like they have the problem that you solve. So really being very careful about doing your pre-event interviews and basically figuring out like who should you be saying yes to and who should you be saying no to, but at the same time, maybe referring another speaker to them. The fifth one is liking. This is where you're building rapport. You're establishing a connection with your audiences. And one of the things that I tell my clients is that if an industry or the company that you're speaking for, if they have some jargon, if they have some acronyms, I mean, use those in your speech because your audience, who's part of this company, is going to, wow, she knows what it's like. She knows how we talk. Whenever I've done interviews whenever I've gotten hired by companies, I will ask them like, can I speak with 5 different people who are a good representation of everybody who's going to be there in the audience? And what's company jargon? Tell me about the culture. What's normal? What's not normal? Tell me some stories about your customer service. And I will literally use those in the speech. So I'm customizing the speech. But what's happening is I'm really connecting with the audience because they're feeling like she gets us. She's our people. And those are some of the testimonials that I've gotten after I've done this kind of a customization for an audience. But all it is that I really want to connect with the audience. This is all a part of influence. And the more that you can do this, the more that whoever hired you, the conference organizers, the meeting planners, they just like you even more. You're building that know, like, and trust. And that is how you are going to get more bookings. They are going to refer you, whatever it is that you're asking for in exchange afterwards. That might be part of your speaker contract. Now, the next one for really good influence and also to help you sell more from the stage. And I have mentioned this a little bit in the very first podcast of this series, episode 230, is on storytelling, really tapping into the emotions of your audience. Now, with storytelling, I also want you to figure out what are some of the objections that the audience might have. But where else can you tell stories that is going to help deliver a lesson? So, storytelling, do not underestimate the power of stories. And I also dove into stories and using it to handle objections in a previous episode, episode 196. So, I would definitely episode 196, which is about handling objections from the stage from your audience. But when you tell stories, please don't do the play by play. I decided that it was time for me to go to the grocery store and pick up the ingredients to make the dessert that was going to go with the dinner tonight. No, I just like put people start the story in the middle. One of my clients was preparing a short presentation, and she's a singer. So I actually had her sing a line because the story that she was telling was about a singing audition. So she literally put the audience right in the middle of the story. Relive your story. Storytelling is a beautiful art form. And if you take the time to craft beautiful stories, you can use those same stories over and over and over again in different speeches and have different lessons that you want the audience to take away from. So never underestimate the power of a good story. Now, I also want to give you a couple of others that really will help with influence. And one of them is using present tense versus the past. So here's a great example. The last time I ate there, the last time I ate at that restaurant, the service was good compared to saying, I've eaten there before. The service is good. One is past tense and one is present tense. The past tense, like people subconsciously tap into, this was before. There could be something different now. I don't know what the service is like right now, but it was good back then. We're kind of hoping that it might still be good versus you just share that information in the present tense. Number two is going to sound like this next one is a no-brainer. Don't hesitate. And this is a great tip for like when answering Q&A from the audience. Don't hesitate on your answers. That pause actually will allow the audience to doubt the information that you are sharing next. So be very careful with your hesitations. Now, this is different than pausing, purposeful pausing in your presentation. And I would also add to this hesitation, um, having like too many, yeah, what I believe is, I mean, that just leads to, wow, I'm not sure I can trust this person. I'm not sure she knows what she's talking about, like decreasing credibility. And the last one is a great one. And this one is tapping into the identities of the people that are in your audience. I want you to turn verbs into nouns. And what this does is an identity is a noun. So turn any verbs into a noun. So here's an example. My client likes to sing versus my client is a singer. Here's another one for you. I work with entrepreneurs who coach versus I work with coaches. Like I am calling out coaches versus I'm calling out entrepreneurs who happen to coach. One is very definitive. So it's all about people's identity, and people that are in the audience listening to you are going to be like, I'm that coach. Oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, but I don't coach people. I'm a consultant. I'm an entrepreneur, but I have like a service-based business. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, but I have a retail store. So, but I work with coaches. The people that identify as coaches, like they're inside, they are raising their hand. She's talking to me. So I hope that this has helped. I know I've given you a lot of information in this 3-part series on selling from the stage, but these are all little pieces that you can start using today. If you're doing some sort of a live stream, start implementing these, craft those stories, craft those little magical phrases that you're going to start using. And this starts building the habit. You start having that habit, and then it comes oh so natural. I mean, those magical phrases, I use them all the time. And now it's just a habit that I have developed and built up. And I love to ask audiences, like, I'm doing this now. Have you even noticed? And most of the time they don't notice, but they can feel it. Like they can't pinpoint exactly what I said that was a magical phrase that's pulling them in, but they know that it's working. So if you have any questions, and I know the sun is just shining right in my face here. It's that time of the day in the afternoon. But if you have any questions, like feel free to reach out to me over on the DMs and Instagram. And if you are enjoying this, if you enjoyed this, and if you've enjoyed this and you want those magical phrases, be sure to head over to speakandstandout.com/magic. And if you happen to be at the gym, driving in the car, or doing some errands around or working around the house, feel free. Here's a great thing that you can do. Just stop this episode now and email it to yourself or send it to yourself in a text message to remind yourself to come and download those 17 magical phrases. So till next time, I want you to be in demand.